Speed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so the one you've all been waiting for. How to buy a website. Don't mind my friend here. He's just tidying up. I will grab that water. Okay, so well, I guess what I should do is introduce myself. So if you didn't know, John Cole, I'm the CCO. CCO is actually a Chief Customer Officer, so I'm in charge of everything that's publisher-facing. But today, I'm not here with my Ezoic hat on. I'm actually here with my website buying hat on, which, if you think about a hat, is a bit specialized. But I'm going to talk to you about buying a website. And I'm not talking about a domain. I'm talking about an income-producing content website. So we're not talking about domain name parking. We're talking about how to buy a revenue-producing site. So let me just see a show of hands. Who's bought or sold a website and ever? All right. You guys came to the right place. So we've got a handful of people. I'm going to teach you guys how to buy a website. So why am I qualified to talk about this? Well, if you didn't know this, I used to do this for a living. So I used to buy websites and basically invest them. And I put quite a lot of my own money into doing it. After I joined Ezoic, we invested millions of dollars in buying sites to test our theories on. So a lot of the technology that we built, we actually built for ourselves. And before I got into publishing and owning sites, I was a total newbie. So I think I can empathize still what it was like to get started and start putting money down in exchange for a website. And I'm talking about my own personal money. So I'll give you a bit of background. Who guys remembers, hands up if you remember Facebook apps. Everybody remember those? So this was when Facebook opened their platform to developers. One of the main reasons that Facebook was successful was because they opened their platform to third-party developers or publishers, and they created a whole bunch of games, so we all enjoyed playing with each other. And this was a new thing. It was hugely viral, and I think one of the main reasons that Facebook became successful. So I used to run an ad network, and I'd sold my business to an American firm called Ad Knowledge around about the same time as Dwayne LaFleur, who's the CEO of Ezoic. He'd sold his business, which was called Cubics, and Cubics was the first ad network inside social games. So then Dwayne and I became colleagues, and we spent a lot of time working together on things like this. So we developed these theories, and at the time, it was very, very new. So we're talking about 10 years ago, and we would have, I think at our peak, we're about 1 billion impressions a month, and there were ads like these in games. And pretty soon this kind of got shunted to one side, and virtual currency became how sites made their money. But before that, we were trying to figure out how does ad targeting affect how much money you can make. And particularly, if you think about it, you might have 50 page views, 70 page views in a user session. Trying to actually monetize this directly to advertisers is pretty hard, right? So we just started to develop our sort of optimization theories from having to crack these problems. And here are some of the theories, and this is what got us into buying sites. So publishers seem to be obsessed with demand sources. So which ad network am I using, or how can I get better ads, because then I'm going to make more money. The second thing was that we discovered was all ads dilute each other, because we were playing with how many ads should be in this user session and where are they. We soon discovered that all ads actually dilute each other. So there's a sort of cumulative effect, a zero-sum game, if you like. Adding more ads reaches a certain point. And then the third one, we had a data mindset. So we came from Ad Knowledge, which was a very, very large business. We built up the social games division to be about $3 million a week, which is pretty decent. And we came to this trying to think, okay, well, how can we get these theories that we've seen in social games, if we got some data and we scale it, can we make money? And this is something that we put our money where our mouth was. So before I get into how to buy sites, quick disclaimer, this is not investment advice, okay? If you lose your shirt, it's on you, not on me. But I am going to do my best, and it's been a while. But as you'll find out, we've got a lot of experience in doing this, as well as investing my own money. Basically, I spent 2 years in a room buying websites, and we ended up buying 400 sites and spending about $5 million. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So first off, you have to buy, in order to buy a site, you have to find one, and I'm going to show you how to prospect for good sites. The second way is to appraise them, and this is always the thing that people get hooked up on. How do we know how much a site is worth? I think some of you in the audience, probably quite a few of you, I don't know, 5 years ago might have got an email from us saying, we'd be interested in buying your site. Putting a number on how much a site is worth, I can share that. And then also, how do you do a deal? How do you do a deal safely online? So some of you may work for big publishers and you want to put this kind of thing to work in your private life. Some of you may have a few sites that are being successful and you want a portfolio and you don't necessarily want to build up a site from scratch. So this is for you as well. So how do we find a good site? Well, I think you need to choose a niche. You need to choose something that you know a little bit about. Now, what we did, and this was quite deliberate, we chose evergreen sites. And evergreen sites are ones, if you think about it like this, that people have been searching for 5 years ago, they're searching for today, and they're searching for in 5 years' time. So, for example, evergreen keywords might be Emperor Nero. Not much new information about him. A sausage casserole, judo moves, relationship advice, or Thai massage. In fact, those two together might go well. Anyway, and then non-evergreen might be things like, oh, sorry about the formatting, might be Farmville Blue Cow, might be Hairstyles 2018, or the best Nokia handset. I was actually practicing this speech with my kids, and my son said, "What's a Nokia handset, Dad?" And I said, exactly. Listen, son. I'm giving you pearls here. Okay. I don't think he was listening. Anyway, so how do we find a good site? Now, what I did is, it's pretty easy. There are a few public tools that you can use. And what I suggest is that you get the Chrome extensions for each of these. So just Semrush and SimilarWeb. And obviously, Google is our friend in this situation. So I'm going to type into Google Emperor Nero death, and because I'm in the UK, I'm using google.co.uk by default. And underneath the Wikipedia article is this website, which comes up number 2 in Google. So I've found a site to go and have a look at. So what I do is I go to the site, and it shows me this is the landing page. Who was Emperor Nero? How long was his reign, and when did he die? So I click on the SimilarWeb Chrome extension, and it shows me that the site is roughly 350,000 visits a month. Sounds like a good site. Oh, and it's been growing as well, even better. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open Semrush, and Semrush, or SEMrush, it's search engine marketing. I don't know why it's called Semrush, actually. It's a bit like Ezoic, isn't it? I never know why. And we have a large number of keywords. So the big red arrow there, that isn't anything to do with traffic. That's how many keywords have been indexed in google.com. So if you look at the line above where it says domain overview historyhit.com, the button that is highlighted is US. So that's talking about google.com. And you can flip through those and look at .fr, .de, and so on. Also, if you look down in the bottom right-hand corner there, we can see the trend. So for some amazing reason, it's been around for a while, but very recently, over the last 4 months, it's been growing. So that's intriguing, and now I'm interested in buying this site. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and have another look at a different keyword. So if I just go back, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of this slide, you can see these are the top organic keywords. I'm only interested in organic because this is what I can predict about traffic, and therefore I can predict about revenue. So then I'm interested in making money on this site. So so let's choose one. So we've got Spartacus is another keyword that it has, and in brackets there where I've highlighted it, it says number 7, and in brackets number 7. That is, it's number 7 in Google.com, and it used to be number 7 in the keyword rankings. And this is a free tool. You can just use this, or you can pay a subscription and get some more detailed reports. But it's going to give me enough as to what I need. Now, this is really, really, really important tip. Do not look, you need to look at landing pages and do not look at the home page. I am still astounded by the number of digital website professionals who still look at home pages when they're trying to assess a site. You need to go and look at a landing page. I remember one specific example where somebody was saying, and I've seen this on the home page, and I went to look up, and it was less than 0.08% of traffic for that site went to desktop on the home page. So it's to give you an idea, your home page isn't necessarily your landing page. So let's go and look at it. The other thing we want to do is we want to be looking at it on mobile. So if you're using Chrome, which I recommend that you do, not just because we're here at Google, because I guess it's the one I know. If you'd hit F12 from a PC, you are going to be able to emulate mobile. And then it's going to show me, so firstly I put Spartacus into Google. I go and find where the landing page comes up on the left-hand side there. And then I go to the page itself, and then I can make a few judgment calls really quickly. And when you start to do a lot of this, you get a bit of a feel for it. Are there ads? Is it over-monetized? Is it under-monetized? What about the navigation speed? I can tell what it's loading like for me, but I can go and use some tools. But we're just getting a feel at this point. We're just checking it out. So it looks good. The next thing I can do is I can go to the Whois database. So Whois is basically like a registration. It's like a phone book for the internet. And I can go and look at the Whois data. And with any luck, I can find out some more about the site. So I use a Chrome extension called Website Informer in the bottom right there. And I just click on that, and I click on More Info, and it's going to take me straight to Whois without me having to type it in, because I'm lazy. And historyhit.com, and in the bottom left there, you can see some information about the site. So really important information are things like how old is the domain. Older domains are worth more just because they've been around for a while, particularly if they've been indexing for the content for which they're being used. You can see the registrar, you can see the IP, not that the IP tells you anything, but you can look at the DNS, you can look at their name servers. Are they using Cloudflare? Are they using Ezoic? Are they, let's have a look at the owner's emails as well. You might be able to get those from Whois. So there's a bit of information that gives me some more information. The most interesting bit of information is that it looks like that it's owned by an independent. So for example, if I'm trying to buy a property from Hearst, it's super unlikely they're going to sell me one of their properties, even if it's small. So don't waste your time on the big sites. But if it's independent, then okay, I'm still interested. All right. Oops, there's the water. Let's have a look. Who can guess what's wrong with the site, though? There's something weird about this site. What is it? That's right. There are no ads. Why could that be, I wonder? Maybe they've cracked the subscription model for history content. Or, yeah, you got it. And it's such a shame. I was getting my hopes up about this site, and I was all ready to contact them. But I went to isbanned.com, and unfortunately, I discovered that historyhit.com is banned in Google AdSense. Now, of course, that can represent an opportunity. There's two sides to every story. So I'm sure that it would be a good idea to contact somebody like this and say, hey, I see you banned in AdSense. Are you interested in selling the site? You have to be pretty confident that you're going to be able to turn that around, and you don't know the reason for the banning. It could be abusing Google's advertisers, breaking AdSense policy. It could be all sorts of things. So, sad face. It's a bit of a shame because I really like that site. But let's pretend that anyway that it wasn't banned, and we're going to go and contact them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to contact the owner, and I've found their email because I went to Companies House and I looked them up, and I found the Companies House directors, and I put it into LinkedIn, and then I sent them a message on LinkedIn. Sounds like I've done this before, right? And then I send them an email as well, because there was an email on the site. And I just say, are you interested in selling up? If so, let me know, and I'll estimate how much I think the site could be worth. Hope to hear from you soon. And that's that. And then I follow up, and we start to have a dialogue. So email discussions can go on for months. And it's rare that you, with your first approach, you're going to get somebody who's interested, and it's doubly rare if that they're going to be motivated. Okay, a lot of you guys here, what do you say if people say, "Are you interested in selling your site?" What do you say? Not interested, right? That's the problem. So you have to do this a lot in order to find people who are. So just begin by asking if they're interested, and the way that you can get them interested is to appraise the site, because who doesn't want to know how much their site is worth? Okay, so even for interest's sake, they may not know, and it may be worth a lot more than they might think. And then the last one, don't forget, you're just some dude from the internet. You have to establish trust. You have to use your real name. You have to direct them to people you've done deals with. You have to tell them more about yourself, and that you're not a criminal, and so on. So there's a lot of work to do when you're doing email discussions. So I won't get into it too much. But let's say that the person got back to me and they say, "Okay, I'm kind of interested. How do we proceed?" So the first thing to do would be to say to them, "Can you share your Google Analytics access with my Gmail account? Here it is." And you do that by just putting a Google email into, there's instructions online as to how to do it. Actually, that's how we do it when we start talking to publishers about using the Ezoic platform. We say, do you mind sharing your GA so that we can check you're not a bad guy? It's normally not a problem. And people say, yeah, sure, if you're going to appraise the site, I can always just turn you off afterwards. So once you've got that, then you start to go through looking at Google Analytics. So again, we go back to landing pages. Super, super important. So we go and have a look at Spartacus again. And then we're looking at traffic history. Now, you guys will probably know quite a bit more about GA, or at least as much as me anyway. But for those of you who don't spend a lot of time in GA, and I have, one of the most important things is to check the traffic history over time. So is it growing? Is it declining? It's rarely exactly the same. And you need to also be checking by keywords. So look at seasonality, look at keywords over time, and try and spot any trends. So when we're looking at the traffic sources, so you can see acquisition overview. I could do this in my sleep. I would just go and straight there, and I would go and look at the traffic sources. So the one on the left, it says organic search is most of the traffic, and the one on the left is like a typical good site. That's what you're looking for. If you're training to be somebody who can discover forgeries, you spend all your time looking at the real thing, right? If you're looking at banknote forgeries, you spend all your time looking at the real thing. Look for this kind of thing, which is mostly organic search, a bit of direct, a little bit of referral, and a bit of social. The one on the right, where it says other, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means this isn't standard. It's not getting most of its traffic from organic keywords. It could be anything. That other could be a bot. We don't know, right? It could just be tagged up. So you want to go and look at that. And also social is another tough one, because Google Analytics doesn't tell the difference between paid for Facebook traffic and Facebook free, or organic Facebook, if you like. So what we're looking out for is bad traffic. We're looking out for the guys pump and dump, or people who are arbitraging. They're buying on Facebook and they're basically selling to Google advertisers. So they're pushing their users through to landing pages, and then they're monetizing them and making the money on the difference. So ARB sites are really risky to buy. If you can get a fantastic deal, you can do it, but making money from ARB is tough, and you need to have a lot of experience. I would definitely not recommend doing that for your first site if you're new to this. And also, if you're going to look for sites in places like flippa.com, flippa.com, where people list their digital web properties, there are a few bad guys in there, unfortunately, and these are the sort of pump and dump guys who they'll find something, they'll fix it up, push it up the rankings, it's making money, they get paid on a multiple. So spend time looking at that. So we've learned how to find a good prospective site. I've been focusing on evergreen, remember, and organic search. Now we're going to have a look at the appraisals, which is basically the traffic, and how to contact the owner. So how do we go ahead and do a deal? So once you've got your access to Google Analytics, if they don't have Google Analytics, it's getting risky. Okay, full stop. A good idea, good solution to that is to say, hey, could you tag the site up with GA, and we'll wait a week, and then we can look at it again. Or if you don't mind, I can do that for you. So if somebody's using Stat Counter or something like that from the dark ages, you don't want to be giving them an offer based on those kind of metrics. The next thing to do is to ask for current earnings. We're getting warmer now. We're getting warmer to a deal. We're saying, hey, this looks good. We've got good organic traffic. I am definitely interested in making an offer. Can you share with me how much money the site is making currently? Also, I need to know all of the sources. I need to know how much money you're making from AdSense, from header bidders, from any ad exchanges you're using, any affiliates. Basically, add it all up together, and then you divide by the number of sessions in GA, and you've got your EPMV. So then you can get EPMV, earnings per 1,000 visits. Those of you who've been to Pubtelligence before, session earnings is your friend. RPM is kind of irrelevant and can be a false positive as well. So look at the last 12 months, and then the last 30 days by day, and if you can get it, by device, because that, unfortunately, a lot of ad partners do not give any visibility according to device. They just say, hey, here's your money, and that was for 60 days ago. So great, thanks. Doesn't give me any data, but at least you can work out a rough EPMV over 12 months. And then the last thing really is to go and do some plagiarism checks. So on this same site, I went randomly to a page about Trafalgar because it was Trafalgar Day a couple of days ago. Having been in the Navy, I couldn't resist. So what I did is I highlighted a section of text. I right-clicked, and then I clicked on Search Google for this content. And then it opens another tab for me. See how lazy I am. And I don't like cutting and pasting. So I just do that. And then basically, does it rank for its own content? Really, 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 really important. There are so many sites out there that will mirror another site or scrape content from other sites, temporarily get a ranking, and then Google finds them out and they go down the rankings again. So when I do that, this is what came up. It doesn't have to be whole sentences, just to grab it and see, and then you can see similar sites. And there are free site tools like SiteLiner. You can plug it in, and it gives you a percentage of duplicate content on the internet. A little bit of duplicate content is normal. A lot of it, you're looking at a bad deal. So once we've done that, now I'm going to do a deal. How do I do a deal? So I just put this out there because obviously I haven't been in the game for a while, but I don't think it's that much different to how it is now. You need to look at what is the average, how much money is the site making per month, and then working out your offer based on a multiple of earnings per month. So non-seasonal earnings, we're not talking about last November. If you ask any digital publisher, how much does your site make? Oh, it makes about $5,000 a month. Oh, it actually made 5,000 once last November. And at the moment, it's making 2,500 because it's the summer. So, but what we do is you sort of agree a rough average per annual, and then basically you're looking between 1 and 3 years. Why is it so low? If you look at other assets, it's because of the volatility in the space. New sites get lower multiples, obviously. If it hasn't got that track record over years, you don't know how they got that traffic. You don't know. There could be a sister site giving it lots of referrals. When you buy the site, they disconnect it. Rankings go down, traffic goes down, you're left holding the baby. They've kept their big site, you've got the small site that you're left with. I'm making it sound really bad now, but there is some good news I'll share in a minute. You can only assess it on its content and its traffic. So if somebody's saying, well, that .com's worth $50,000, and it makes $50,000 a year, so I want 5 years earnings, or 3 or 4 years earnings. You can give a multiple for a .com, but giving a multiple based not on traffic, you may as well get in that domain space. And then this is a tip for you. If you're thinking about doing this, I would go for long-form articles. So Knowledge Graph is out there. It's basically Google taking your content, putting it on google.com or google.co.uk. And unfortunately, that seems to be the way things are going. We've got Google becoming from a search engine to becoming an answer engine. If you have sites on relationship advice, you're probably going to lose less of your traffic to Knowledge Graph over time and Google Voice Search than you are if you have weights and measures comparison site, for example. So Cole's constant, this is my tip for you guys. The Ezoic guys in London will recognize this. If we're trying to work out rough earnings from a site, this is a totally goofy calculation that I worked out, but it seems to work roughly for, and this is very important, for US, UK traffic, because that's what I tended to buy because I'm English and that's the market that I know. And so, for example, that site that I was looking at, let's say it was 350,000 sessions at 17 cents is annual earnings. So roughly $60,000 a year. And if I was going to go and buy that blind, and they said to me, okay, just make me an offer, and I'm not sharing Google Analytics with you, I would have to go, all right, it's maybe worth $100,000. Okay, 120,000, 2 years earnings, something like that. Now, if it's banned in Google, my multiple has just gone down to a lot less, and then we're in a negotiation. So I hope that helps. Next thing, and I'm running out of time a little bit here, but this is how you do a deal. So let's say we've agreed a deal, and I'm buying the site for $100,000. It's a lot of money. You do not want to be sending somebody on the internet $100,000 for their website. The only way that I recommend that you do it is to use a service like escrow.com, and it gets over that problem of, I'm not going to give you the money until you give me the domain and the content, and I'm not going to give you the money until you give me the domain. So it gets over this problem, and if you've ever sold a high-value item, this is the way that you do it. You do not go in a car with a suitcase to somebody's house. Same thing if you're buying a car, honestly, I wouldn't do it. So you agree on the terms, and you submit your money to escrow. So I wire the money to escrow.com, and then they give us the domain. The domain is then pushed or pulled from the registrar, and I get the files to an FTP address, and then basically I set the site up, verify that all the content is there, and I put my own ad tags on it and all the rest of it, make sure everything works, and then we release the payment and the site is mine. So, quick summary of a deal. You do all your homework, you get to a deal, you agree a price, and you agree transfer terms. So, for example, you might say, hey, we have 14 days to do this deal. Once we've done the agreement, I used to use writesignature.com, and we would send them an online agreement, so there's no paperwork. There's just basically sign using a thumb signature on your phone, and then we'd kick off the transaction in escrow.com, fund the account, and transfer, and everything's great. So I did about 40, I think, 40 of these deals, and how did it go? Let's have a look. Well, then you become a proud new owner, and then the worry really starts. When you're hovering over that button to send the money, that's the moment. And then it's really the next day when you wake up and look at the revenue. So it isn't hard, but there are a lot of people who do this well, and there's some people who do it badly. People do make mistakes. So my two top tips here, if you're thinking about getting involved with this kind of thing, if you don't understand the risks around the traffic or the income, you need to put in time, and you need to learn how to assess risk. As I said earlier, spend time in your own Google Analytics account and get to know what looks normal. What is a normal weekly flow? All sites are different, but they do have similarities. The other thing is really not taking any risks. So when Dwayne and I were doing this, we were doing this because we wanted to have a whole bunch of sites to experiment on to test our theories. And we actually ended up building all of the technology, the bones of Ezoic, from running 400 sites. And Dwayne's a bit crazier than me. He sent $2,000 to a guy in Afghanistan and via PayPal, something like that. And basically, he did get the site, and it worked out really well for him, but I just didn't have the nerves for that. I do have a couple of deals. You always remember the ones that went right. This was a nice one, internetslang.com. By the way, if you've got, depends on how much money you've got to invest, but if you end up investing, $1 million or $2 million, I wouldn't go buying lots of hundreds and thousands of dollars sites. I'd start off with some 5, 10, 15, 25, 50 size sites. So we agreed a deal on this site for $360,000. I seem to remember that was 36 times revenue, and they didn't have a mobile site. When I looked at the GA, oh, he didn't have GA either. I always remember these. It was about 70% mobile. It became 70% mobile over time. So we built the mobile-friendly app to do these kind of things, to take an ordinary site and make it mobile-friendly. Then we plugged it into our system, and we made $280,000 in the first year, and then it's been producing $20,000 a month since then. So that was a great deal. Love that deal. Oh, until Knowledge Graph came along a bit earlier this year and started scraping all the content into Google. Couldn't resist the dig at Google there. Okay, when it went wrong. So this was funny. In hindsight, I think this was my second site that I ever bought. Funny pickup lines. It is evergreen. It's kind of funny. And again, they didn't have a mobile site. We're talking a few years ago now. And I agreed this deal with the guy, and everything went through, funds released, and I'm not earning as much money as I thought. That's a bit strange. And then as it transpired, 2/3 of the traffic was coming from porn. And what he'd done is he'd only tagged up the pages, and what I was doing is looking at the revenue and thinking, oh, he's doing a good job of monetization. We could definitely beat that, though. And I talked myself into the deal, despite a few spidey senses, alarm bells were ringing. So it sort of limped along. I'm actually exaggerating it. I think it was like $800 in the first year, and it's sort of, maybe my kids will kind of inherit this one day. It's sort of limping along. And the other thing is we haven't done anything to the sites over time. We've just beaten them up to do all our experiments on. So those of you who use Ezoic, you'll know we experiment on our own sites. We push all our code to the owned and operated sites to make sure everything works, and then we push it out to partner sites. So it's actually been quite useful, but they have got beaten up over time. General advice or general findings are that 1/3 of your deals will be great, 1/3 of your deals will be okay, and 1/3 of your deals will be terrible. But and no matter which way we sort of spliced and diced it, Dwayne was a lot more technical than me. I did a lot more intuitive stuff, this being an example of it. You can make some really good money from this, and you can generate a really nice passive revenue stream from it. So anyway, I'm not here to sell anything. I just wanted to share that. I know a lot of people have been wanting to know, particularly my guys here in London, who are all starting their own sites in their spare time. Okay, and thanks for listening.